Hello, and welcome again to Talking Baseball with Leon Lee. Today is March 10th, 2021. My name's Steve. I'm here again, of course, with Mr. Leon Lee. Going to talk a little bit of baseball today. And again, today, Leon, we have a couple of our regulars back with us.
Yes, we do, Steve, and I appreciate it. It's great to be back on air talking baseball. This is all of our passions, and who we have tonight. We have our silky smooth middle infielder instructor, Eddie Cervantes, and we also have. Good to see you, Eddie.
Hey, thanks, Leon. Good to see you. Good to be here.
All right, and also we have with us again our one of our great catching instructors and developer and creator, inventor, Mr. Matt Ceriani. Matt, it's great to see you again. Are we talking to you from Arizona or California?
Yeah, we're out in northern Arizona, Payson, Arizona, getting ready for some snow tonight.
What?
Yeah, we got a couple days of snow coming in.
Snow in Arizona.
Right.
Yeah, we're up at 5,000 feet, so when it rains down in the valley, we get snow this time of year at least.
And you land on the beach in the Sahara Desert.
You got it. Take the sled down and run into the sand.
Wow, that's great. But it's good to be here with you guys. And we're going to start talking some baseball. And I think tonight, Steve, what we wanted to chat a little bit about, we don't have Ricky with us, and we're going to have some more guests with us next week. We're going to put Matt's catching skills to the challenge with some base running experts. But tonight we want to bring some things to the kids and talk about kind of more of an instinctive level of games and things that they can do. Use some examples, things they can do that makes them a little bit better. I was talking to some kids at one of the high schools the other day. I was out at their practice and they were playing an inter-squad game. And Eddie and Matt, you guys can appreciate this. A ball got hit to the shortstop and he booted it badly because he really never got in front of the ball. And then the next ball hit to him. He ran over. He did get in front of it like the coach told him to, but the ball beat him up. He picked it up, threw it to first, and the guy beat it out. And the coach just says, yeah, that's a lot better. But I called the kid over to the side and I asked permission if I could talk to him. And I said, I want you to know that what you did, you're kind of going at the ball saying, I got to catch the ball. Instead of saying, I'm going to use my feet, slow it down. Every time that ball's hit, Eddie, you can relate this. He would jump and jerk. He would jump and jerk and then go to the ball. And then by that time, his head's moved, the eyes move. He's stiff, he's frozen, and the ball beat him up. Instead of saying, don't let your eyes move. Keep your head still, move your feet slow with the intention of putting yourself in position to catch the ball instead of saying, I got to catch the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's almost like that movement and that jerky movement can be eliminated simply by anticipating and being ready for the ball before it's actually hit. So in other words, you may not be in moving physically yet, but if you're anticipating in your mind, you are moving. And so that smoothness, that fluidness comes out naturally then, instead of waiting for something to happen, you're expecting something to happen and you're ready for it. It takes a little time. And basically what it boils down to is fundamentals, catching a ton of ground balls every day, catching ground balls every day.
Yes.
And that's where it starts, fundamentals at every aspect of the game. Yeah.
And I told them, and I'm going to aim this one at Matt, because catching, I think, is really the same thing is rhythm, timing, and being soft behind the plate and not letting the head jerk and move, because that even upset not only throwing a runner out, but it would upset the pitcher too. Wouldn't you think, Matt?
Absolutely. I mean, the big thing for infielders is the ball comes off the bat sometimes over 100 miles an hour. There's only a couple guys that throw 100 for a catcher. Now, the difference is we're at 60 feet 6 and we know what's coming, but we don't know when it's going to be in the dirt. So you have to always anticipate it being in the dirt. Like what Eddie's saying is, if you're not ready for the ball right at you, then you're not going to be ready for any ball. Because if it comes off the bat scorching at 100 miles an hour and it hits 3 feet in front of you, you better have a game plan. You better go attack that thing, or you better give a little ground and get a longer hop. The same thing applies catching, because you know what you called after that. It's just whatever you see out of his hand and how focused you are at the release point, and then you got to play the ball. That's a whole separate part of it. Anticipation is great, but then that has got to give way to the actual ball in the moment.
And that's one of the things I want to talk about tonight with you guys, really, is how do we teach kids that they have these ways of teaching that creates tension in all aspects. And what I was saying was, he was kind of walking up toward the ball at shortstop. You see a lot of young kids are doing this, they're being taught. And then right when the ball's pitched to the hitter and the hitter's getting ready to hit, they jump to a stop. And then if the ball's hit to them, they're flat-footed, and then they got to jump again to go to the ball.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And that's, that jump prior to as the pitch is on its way is usually taught, and it can be useful for an infielder. It's that tennis step that the tennis players use when their opponent is serving, and that is something to get your body moving as the ball's being hit. So it gives you a little momentum, but like you're saying, if it's not taught properly, players are going to jump and come to a stop, as opposed to using that to create some kind of fluid motion that you're
right.
still moving. You're
Exactly.
still moving. You haven't come to a stop. You have got that momentum going. Yeah, that anticipation.
Exactly. Because, like with Matt, I'll use Matt as an example as a hitter. Okay, Matt is not a 500-foot home run hitter, but he hits a lot of balls hard down. And when you have a quick bat, the idea is when you have a really quick bat and that ball hits the bat, the infield has a tendency to kind of flinch anyway. So if you get an infielder to flinch and you hit a hard ball 4 or 5 feet away from them, they won't get to it.
Right.
But if you have a slower bat, or if you have a really good fluid infielder, like you were saying earlier, and he reads balls well off the bat, and he gets a little moving start toward reading that bat toward the ball, then the ball 4 or 5 feet away from him, he's going to catch.
Right.
That's right. No, I agree totally with that. I mean, for like an infielder that doesn't know, if the guy goes, like, I hit to all fields, so you'd have to play me pretty straight up, and you wouldn't know until the pitch was in the zone if it's out or middle or in or whatever. And if with the short swing, you've got way less of a chance to get a really good read on it. Whereas if a guy's got kind of a longer, loopier, or more of a swing that takes a lot longer, trying to do more damage, which a lot of guys do, you're going to see if he's angling toward, left side, or if he's really looking to go the other way. And as an infielder, like Cal Ripken was great at it, a bigger guy, had to use momentum and thought process. And, I believe that fielding is a conversation, the same as hitting is a conversation, because if you don't know the hitter, then you have to watch where the pitch is coming. And if that's all you know is where the pitch is coming, then you've got a little bit of some information to work with. If you don't know, if your guy's not throwing strikes that day, it's tough. But at the upper levels, I mean, you've got a dialed in report. They're actually moving guys around the field based on where they're used to hitting it. But you still have to anticipate that the ball's going to be hit 100 miles an hour right at your shoe tops, or the worst hop you could ever imagine. If you don't have that in your mind, what are you going to work off of?
Right.
And when you do get that hop, you should already have a game plan for the worst hop you could ever imagine. And then at that, and from my perspective as a catcher, I love that I have a chest protector on in that situation, because I just block the ball. But for everybody else, you got to use your glove to protect you, your bare hand maybe to protect your face a little bit. I mean, you don't have much out there, and nobody wants to get hit, flush with the ball. It doesn't feel good. I don't care who you are, what level. It's just, it's not the goal. The goal is to get some leather on it, get it out, make a play. If you knock it down and the ball's hit 100 miles an hour, the guy's literally still in the batter's box. So,
Exactly.
you don't have to rush, just knock it down. Like so many players, I believe, they feel they have to be perfect at everything. And that's the kiss of death to me. Perfection is not a real thing in baseball. Perfection only happens after you look back at 9 innings or a half of a season or whatever, or a career. There's no perfection involved in baseball. Baseball is a game in the moment, and you have to be, ready to deal with disappointment as well as you are with the good parts of the game.
Leon, there was a drill I would do. I'd put myself in before games sometimes, not all the time, but during batting practice, after I've taken a few ground balls, I would get right-handed hitter. If there was a right-handed hitter, I'd get at the shortstop position, left-handed hitter, of course, at the second base position. But I'd put myself in infield in position. This is during BP. Guys thought I was kind of little, goofy doing that, because during BP, usually guys are getting a little more juice on their swing, and that ball's really coming off. Well, I would get at the cutout, right at the grass, and I would position myself ready for a ball to be hit to me. And what that would do is that would increase my concentration and my reaction time, because I knew the ball was going to be coming pretty quick. That ball wasn't being pitched. The coach, one of the coaches is just lobbing it up there, just like you during batting practice. So these guys they're hitting shots. So I found that very useful, taking it to the game in my mental preparation, because now you had to be ultra focused in that situation for that drill. And you can't be scared. You can't be scared. You have to take that on and go, man, hit it to me. I'm ready. Yeah. But exactly what Matt was saying, same thing. But that was a drill I would put myself in.
You just blew my confidence, Eddie, because I throw a lot of BP, and you're saying I'll lob it. I thought I was throwing the ball pretty hard.
It's the best BP on the planet, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm just giving him a hard time. But in Asia, the coaches, they will get some of those catchers and put them against the backstop in the back, and they take the infielders and do the same thing. They get up pretty close with their fungos, and they're hitting balls pretty hard at them, left and right. Okay, and they use the fungo as a tool. You could probably relate to that. And I'm saying that for young kids too. It's not to go out there and beat them up, but it's learning how to read something off the bat. And then they learn how to block a ball or pick it, or, it's good for first baseman because they're reading balls off the bat at the same time they're picking the ball off the bat.
Yeah, you're teaching anticipation right there. It's a total anticipation.
Exactly. And reactionary time, and it takes some of the fear out of it. And they're saying, I might get hit, instead of saying, okay, let me read the ball off the bat, put all my focus on reading and catching rather than worrying about whether it's going to hit you or not. But I did something the other day, and I think kids can get a kick out of this. And I've done it before, and it's something we've talked about. But I had the high school team. I said, sometimes instead of all the noise and all the scuffling and the noise and intensity, so to speak, they think they're being intense, that we're going to slow it down. I get a fungo bat with no baseball. So I'm throwing the ball up, an imaginary ball, and I'm hitting the ground ball to the third baseman. I said, get one. And at first they didn't get it because I didn't give them any information. I said, we're going to slow it down. I don't want to hear any noise, even with your feet. And I pretended like I hit a ball. And before I even almost hit the ball, the third baseman was catching it and acting like he was throwing it to first. So I said, we're going to imagine there's a ball in play. And when I got ready to hit, I said, we're going to imagine the ball's in play. Let's see if we can react to it. I said, now, would a ball have gotten you that quick? I said, let's do it realistic. Let's start it over. I had to start over 5 or 6 times. Throw the ball up, hit it. Here's a ball. And you play the ball. And then they got the timing of it. The timing start coming in. They start getting it. Okay, get 2. Then the timing of it start coming in. And then I got a regular ball and I said, I don't want to hear any feet. I don't want to hear any noise. I want it to be as quiet as possible. No dragging, just soft on your feet, soft, as quiet as possible. You don't have to go fast. So then I would hit the ball and then they start feeling that rhythm of being real quiet, real smooth, soft hands. I don't want to hear it hit the glove, it's sort of like, and then the kids start really getting into it. They start feeling it. And then they start enjoying it. And I slow it down. Don't hurry. Don't rush. Don't rush. Don't rush. And then the other day, when I went out and I watched them play the game, they got in the game and all of a sudden the intensity of the game came in. And I said, see, if you learn how to control the adrenaline, breathe and slow it down, you'll still be going fast enough.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then nothing surprises you when you see it. That's the old phantom infield. And the phantom infield, like in the big games, like we did that a couple of times in pro ball, A ball, a couple of times. We had a cool manager, Frank Kremlis, who was like, he'd come out there and you see the other team looking for the ball. They're like, where's the ball? And there is no ball. You don't need a ball to take a perfect infield.
And
cool.
Visualize it. You visualize, you see it.
Complete visualization process.
Exactly.
Well, that's just like Leon, going back to what we've discussed in the past about pre-pitch. At first, when you first start learning that as a young player, the first thing you learn is, what am I going to do if the ball's hit to me? Okay, what's the situation? Runners, where are the runners and all that? How many outs? What do I do if the ball's hit to me? And that's where it stops when you're young. When you're real young, that's the very beginning. And then you start adding stuff in there. And if what I would do is every once in a while, I would think about that one tough play that made you look like it was a ESPN highlight moment. And you imagined if the ball's hit in that spot, that it would take a play like that. So you prepare yourself mentally. What are you going to do with that ball deep in the hole that you have to get over? And all those particulars, you think about it that quick before the pitch is thrown. And if for a reason, if for some luck of the draw, that ball is hit at that moment in that spot, you will make that play. You will be better prepared to make that play because you've already run it through your head. And that's
Eddie, to piggyback on that, not only did you anticipate the toughest play, you anticipated yourself making the play.
Exactly.
So that in the moment, your mind only knows success. And if for some reason you get a bad hop, you're so much more likely to adjust to that bad hop because your mind only knows success in that situation.
Exactly.
Right.
Almost like deja vu. It's sort of like,
it's exactly what that is. You're creating your own timeline before the timeline happens. And when you do that, you can actually create the play. I mean, again, I'll reference Cal Ripken. He was one of the best at it. Why did he know? Because he never missed a game. The guy never missed a game. He saw every hitter from A ball all the way up to the big leagues. He knew these guys. Yeah. So he knew the swings. He knew all of the parts that most people didn't know. And when you can eliminate, it's like taking a test. When you can eliminate the wrong answer, the easy answer is very easy to see, the right answer.
And you see it, you see the people, they go, you see a Cal Ripken Jr. and Andrew Jones and Ozzie Smith, Eddie Cervantes, a ball's hit. And it's almost like in your mind, it looks like they were moving before the ball was actually hit. And it's amazing how, you don't have to be a super duper speedster to get to tough plays because it was your anticipation of it, your vision, the ability to slow the bat down, see the ball off the bat and read the ball off the bat and already have been kind of moving in motion when that ball's hit. And for the kids, that's what the point I'm trying to say. In every position they seem like they jerk and then they get surprised when the ball's actually hit. They're going through a practiced motion. Okay, I completed the motion, and then, the ball's hit to me.
Right.
It's almost a negative mindset because if you have a negative mindset going into a play, like you don't know what's going to happen, then you're right. You're not going to know. But if you have a love towards the tough hop, or if you have a love towards the tough play and you're happy out there playing the game, what actually happens is you become more in charge of what's going on. Whether you believe it or not, you actually can create better hops because you're more anticipatory. You're more plugged into the guy hitting, the person pitching, the surface, the wind, the sun, the temperature. You're more plugged in. And when you're more in the moment, you literally, and I can speak from blocking balls, and I can speak from the 60 feet situation from home to, to the pitcher's mound. If you're plugged in and you have no distractions, meaning you're focused on what you think is going to happen and what you want to happen, then when something happens it's not what you expected, you're so much more ready to anticipate what could go wrong that you actually make more plays. And I noticed, I felt that in my career. I lived that. So, I was a kind of an undersized guy growing up, and didn't, I created all of my breaks because I was so in love with playing the game that there was nothing that was going to deter me. Like a bad hop, so what? I learned something. You know what I mean? If the ball eats me up and gets me on the wrist, I better get out there earlier and get the chest on it, And those are, that actually translates to every single position on the field and every sport, every, football, baseball, basketball, anything you play. If you're focused 100%, and you, like, for example, I'm sure you guys would agree with me, when you're locked into a game and you're on the field, you don't hear the noise of the crowd. You don't hear it. The only time you hear the noise is when you're in the dugout. We're usually not playing. Or you just hit and you're done and you're, talking to somebody, and then the crowd goes and you go take a look at what happened. But even then I'm probably watching the pitcher still and I don't hear anything. I never heard heckling. I never heard any of it. So
exactly.
I think if you're hearing all those things, you're not focused.
Yeah. But that's like when, I tell the kids the other day, I told them, I said, sometimes don't look at the tree, pick out a leaf. Pick out something direct. If you see a car coming by, don't look at the license plate. Pick out a number. Track the number. Learn how to really, it's like if you're reading a book and all of a sudden, if you hear the noise around you and you're reading the whole page, you haven't taken in one bit of that page, right? You have to go back over and read the whole thing.
It happens a lot. Yeah, it happened to me in school. I was thinking about baseball.
It does. So kids learn how to get themselves in a sense where they could, and it's not really how they define focus sometimes is tension. They think they're focusing and all they're doing is worrying instead of your mindset, a confident
it's the wrong energy. It's the fear energy and not the love energy. Love energy sets you free, whereas the fear holds you back and keeps you stiff and rigid. Yep.
That's a good way to put it. Where Eddie at short, he's got all the angles. He knows all the positions. He knows where he wants to go about. And then he prays that they hit it there. Because if they hit it right at him, it's boring. I mean, that's too doggone easy. I need a ball I can move my feet now and keep my eyes on. And see, and that's the thing, too, that goes along with the line of slowing it down and relaxing and getting yourself in a position to make the play. Because after you caught it, there's still another part to the play. You still got to throw it. And if you're still tight, I grabbed it, I got it. Now I got to move my feet, get my body in position. Now I got to try to make a good throw.
Go off of that, Leon. My dad used to tell me when we were in Little League, he'd say, the greatest play in the world is nothing without a good throw. Like you could pick the best play you've ever made. If you're so excited and in your own ego about it and you make a bad throw, it's not even a good play.
Exactly.
So, that's how I was raised is early on, humble yourself. I was humbled. We all were. And our team won city championships in Little League. And what does that matter? Nothing. It doesn't matter anything. Yeah. But what it did matter was that my mindset and a lot of other kids that played with us and around us and on the all-star teams and in the pony leagues, that mindset traveled. And by the time we were seniors, we all went to college. We all, like in Vacaville in 94, Will Seawood, Vanden High School, and Vacaville High School all ended up in the section championship game. And there's a reason for that, because the culture was set by a few coaches and a few dads that knew what they were talking about. All college athletes, all in different sports. My dad played college basketball. We had another friend of ours, Rhett Clark's dad, Ron, he played at BYU. We had, people that were Oakland PD. Dan Mercado was Oakland PD homicide detective. When that guy came to the field, and Jermaine Clark and, Dan Mercado and all these guys that were on that team played. Oh my gosh, this guy just came from dealing with homicides. And now we're playing baseball. His mentality was unbelievable to be on that field with those guys. That team, the Marlins in Vacaville, I think in 93 or 94, 93, they were that summer ball. I think I want to say 71-9, and they played 80 summer ball games. That was back when we just kept playing. And, to lose 9 games, that's nothing. And we won 71 games. And I tell you, it was all because of the way that the culture was set at 10 years old, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then all the high school teams, when we were seniors, we all went on to the next level. There must have been 15 or 20 guys that played between junior college, Division I, and pro ball after that.
Yeah. Hey, Steve, I'm going to go back. I want to ask you a question. Willie Mays, the great, you guys all know that great over-the-shoulder catch that Willie Mays made way back in the late 50s. Yeah. And everybody raved about the catch. But what did Willie Mays say?
Well, I know that was game 1 of the 54 World Series against Cleveland.
Yeah, I knew you'd do it. Worried about making the catch. I was turning around making sure the runner didn't advance.
Right. Yeah, in the highlight, he spins around and makes the throwback with his hat falling off and everything. But pretty much, he never even had the ball for more than a second.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. He wasn't worried about catching the ball. He knew he was going to catch the ball. He was thinking ahead of time where he's going to make the throw.
Right. And honestly, that's what made that play such an iconic play was, he didn't even think about the catch.
Exactly.
All he was thinking about was what he was going to do after he caught it. Exactly. There was no doubt in his mind that he was going to catch it. He was probably the best center fielder ever to play the game.
That's right.
Because if you miss it, well, then now everything after that is gone. It doesn't matter. That's why you have to be thinking. And that, you know what, Leon, let me just throw this in real quick. Going back to that jump step that you see these kids doing. The problem there is they aren't being taught to what happens after they get to that jump step. I think all they have is they do that jump step, and after that, they're thinking, okay, I'm supposed to be ready after that. And that's not what comes after is what's important. And that they're not getting that input from their coaches, obviously, to get them to understand that that's what they need to be doing when it comes to preparing yourself on the pitch and setting yourself. But it's what's going to happen after that moment where you come to almost a stop. Yeah, that's
if you want to see the circuses happen, all the run score comes more on bad throws than it does on missing a ball.
Just watch a Little League game. That's exactly, it's not so much that they knocked it down, so they threw it off the screen and the guy gets the second.
Exactly. A bad throw creates way more bad reaction or feeling from your ball club because you think you got it out. You made the catch and all of a sudden you overthrow somebody or throw it past somebody and all of a sudden everything goes, oh.
Well, take it a step further. I'd say bad throws lose more games than the guy not getting to the ball.
Without a doubt.
100% of the time.
Without a doubt. Because that is really an unforced error, as they say in tennis. That's you have the ball in your hand and you should have enough practice or control or an idea or the relaxation or the breathing technique, something that you have to be able to get that ball to the next player to where it's supposed to go.
Well,
and then you see it all the way at the highest level now. The balls are flying over guys' heads.
Well, Leon, doesn't it speak to what Matt, we were talking about just a minute ago about that preparedness, that anticipation through the whole play? If you have prepared yourself in fielding a ball, especially if you catch it, if you've bobbled it, now what happens a lot of times is panic sets in with a lot of the young players. they panic and they rush it. Now they've committed 2 errors on one play because they bobbled it, they pick it up and they throw it away because they panic. Sometimes you can panic even though you fielded the ball. They've panicked because they hadn't prepared themselves to make the entire play all the way through. It was just about, oh man, they're just glad they caught it. And then they realize, oh, now I got to throw this guy out. They weren't aware of what type of runner was at the plate. What did he have? Good speed? Did he have poor speed? I got a lot of time to take my time. Or now, if you've got a rabbit, like Matt likes to call those guys that can run, you got a rabbit at the plate. You know ahead of time that when that ball's hit to me, I've got to have a certain rhythm, a certain thing going on to make this play because I know in advance that this guy can run. And so that lends itself, but you got to have all that information. Otherwise, getting parts of the information during that process, you're going to make mistakes. And that's the bottom line.
And one thing I wanted to ask guys that was kind of brought up before we started recording today, I think Matt made a comment about traditional or older school coaches like you guys are, what you see in a player or on the field versus what the eventual stats say, and what a coach like you guys are looking for in some of these kids or youth at different levels are playing to. So, what do you guys look for in a player when you're watching, as opposed to just, having everybody rely on those stats?
Well, I mean, I can speak to that. I mean, the consistency of your habits, the consistency of your thoughts. Are you, those are the things that create, what would you call it? Consistency. If you're not having consistent thoughts, you're not going to have consistent play. If, for example, when you play against the Latin players or with the Latin players, they grew up in the Dominican Republic and some of these places where the fields are horrible. You had to charge every single ball. Otherwise, you're going to get hit in the face. I mean, there's glass on some of these fields. There's rocks. There's trash. It's amazing when you go out of the country to see some of the conditions. Italy, for example. I mean, even going up to play in Alaska. I mean, it's like a skee ball field on the back of the infield. It's unbelievable. There's rocks everywhere. So if you're not confident, if you're playing in that fear mentality, that is exactly what you're going to create. And if you don't get to a ball, you're already in fear of missing the ball. So knocking it down in that perspective is not a good play, which, as we all know, knocking it down is fine. Just make a good throw. And if you get the guy, if he's out, great. If he's not, don't worry about it. Just make a good play. You create your own habits. The consistency of the thoughts is what, to me, makes good players. Now, toughness is another thing. There's a lot of other things that go into it, but the main thing is the consistency of thoughts and these guys that want to be better. When you want to be better, you're going to find angles on the ball. Like when, Eddie, you're talking about playing up, in BP. Now, look, that creates completely different angles if you're not back in the middle of the infield. And yeah, they're swinging, taking that big rip in BP, especially if it's Leon's BP. I'm taking a, polo hack, going target hunting in right center. But that's the whole idea. Like, that guy's not going to swing harder than that with the infield in the game. So you've already got those angles worked out in your mind. So that's confidence. Now you're not worried about fear because you haven't worked on it. You actually worked on it in pregame. So, in a guy like Eddie's perspective, you played 13 years just like I did. And those are the kind of things that keep you around for a long time, because when you get to the game, those are not a worry. They're actually like, okay, I've been practicing this all day. I hope I get a ball.
And if you don't know the player and you're just watching and you're trying to pick out some things, Steve, body language will tell you a lot of times if a guy has confidence of a player out in the field, you're watching them, you can see different players have different body language. And the guy with confidence, the guy that is confident in his game, it will show with a lot of times with their body language, how they take pitches at the plate, how they handle adversity. We talk about that all the time, Leon, how how the young player handles that adversity. Does he shake it off? When we're young ball players, nobody, it's embarrassing to make errors and not look good. So it's understandable to be a little shook up. But as you mature, you start learning how to shake that off and use that as a learning experience, as opposed to an embarrassing experience where you want to just crawl in a hole, on the field. You use it as a learning experience and say, okay, you may not say it out loud, but hey, pitcher, throw another strike. Let him hit the ball to me again. Let him hit, and that's, but, obviously that isn't something you're going to hear, but you'll see body language, I think, in a player. And I think that seems to be is most important. Matt alluded to confidence too. Leon?
Well, I think Leon, as a manager, you would even say you're not going to pull a guy out of the lineup until he shows that lack of confidence. You're going to let him get the next play. Like, you're going to keep that pitcher on the mound that keeps looking into the dugout. Is he going to take me out? Is he going to take me out? Exactly. You actually want him to feel a little adversity. That's how you dig deep and find out who you are as a player. And that's, as a man, that's the only way to know what the player really truly is what has he got when he's down to his end.
Exactly.
And you ask them a question, Matt, when they have those situations, I go, now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You going to quit?
Are you going to tuck tail and run? You want me to pull you out? Because if you want me to pull you out, I can look in your eyes and tell you that, I'm going to leave you out there if that's the case, because I want you to feel how bad it feels when you don't have confidence.
Yeah.
That's at the upper level. At the younger levels, you probably pull them out and get somebody in there that can do it, but you don't want to bury it.
I did that at the major league level one time. I had a young superstar shortstop. He was having a good year. He started filling his oats, and there was a pickoff play at second base. A daylight pickoff. He's at short, pitcher's in the stretch. He comes in behind him. We got 40,000 people in the stands. He comes in behind him, flashes his glove. The pitcher turns. It's a perfectly timed play. He throws a good throw, and the ball hits off his glove and rolls barely behind him out near the grass. And he sits there, looks at his glove, and he doesn't go after the ball. Yeah. Well, the runner jumps up, notices nobody's going after the ball, and he takes third base bag. That run scored, and we end up losing by a run. So after the game, I didn't say anything at the time. I didn't, but after the game, I called him into my office. His name was Goto. And I just wanted to ask him, what was he thinking in that particular situation? And he felt bad that he missed the ball. And I said, I felt bad you didn't go after it. And I said,
right.
That's what cost the game. It's not that you missed the ball.
Yeah, you didn't care that you missed it.
You go after it.
And physical mistakes happen. Mental mistakes are the ones that make you lose games.
Exactly. Now, I don't want to punish you. But I am going to use you as an example. I told him ahead of time, the day before, right after the game was over, we talked. And I said, you're going to go out. There's no punishment involved, but you're not going to play the game tomorrow. And I'm not going to make a point, but I'm going to start this other young shortstop who we just brought up from the minor leagues. And everybody's like, what in the world is the manager doing here? But, the kid came in. I saw Goto over there talking to him. He became the coach because I'd hinted to him. And I said, now you're telling the kid not to do what you just did. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it taught him a lesson because now he'd already told another kid not to do it.
Yeah, he had a little perspective. He realized why he was sitting out that day.
Exactly.
And that's actually better than embarrassing a kid or putting him on the spot. Let him learn the lesson on his own through the action of the manager. That's what a good manager does.
Exactly. You can't overlook it totally, but you want him to have
You didn't show him up. You didn't show him up. You just showed him how to do it.
Exactly. It's a learning time. It's a learning point. And that's what you do, because I don't like running for punishment, number one. I know coaches do it with kids. Oh, if you miss a ball, run 2 laps. No, I want you to run 2 laps because you need to be in shape and have fun doing it. You want to be prepared to play the game. Part of the fun is getting the work in and being in shape, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't. Hey, Matt, you missed 2 balls. Go over there and block 5,000 balls. You know, it doesn't work.
It's gonna make you hate doing what you're trying to get good at, and you gotta love what you're doing to get good at it. You can't hate it. You gotta love it.
And for those coaches that they believe, they call it negative motivation. There's no such thing. You know, negative is a negative and motivation is a positive. If you put a negative and a positive together, it equals a negative. So either you're going to motivate them or you're going to punish them. There's no in between, you know. And to me, if a kid shows a lot of disrespect, he doesn't want to be out there, whatever, that's okay. We just don't give him any oxygen. If you want to pout, you want to cry, you want to be a disturbance or a distraction, then you go over there and be a distraction on your side. Now, in a reasonable amount of time, if you come and make your mind up that you want to come and discuss it and say, I want to be an asset to the ball club, we can use you. But if not, then you can sit over there. I'm not going to kick you off the team unless you quit. If you quit, you quit. You know? Right. And see, kids learn, those are life lessons, because baseball, for kids that are out there, baseball is an ongoing life lesson because it will beat you up.
It's the best medium for life. There's nothing else in life that is more consistent to how baseball treats you every single game.
Exactly right.
Well, yeah.
Exactly right.
Well, yeah, Leon, you know, and talking about that, you know, baseball is a game of self-expression by an individuals playing in a team concept.
Exactly.
And we've talked about it. You say it a lot. I talk about it. The idea that there's no I in baseball. There's no I in baseball. There's no me in baseball. Well, there is. There really is. You have to, as an individual, you have to be your best. You've got to think about how well you can play to help the team as in the team concept. So there is that, but that self-expression is hindered when coaches throw negative thoughts into the players' heads, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
If you don't allow that player to grow through self-expression out on the field, then it's going to hinder his enhancement, his development of learning the game. It's going to diminish. It's not going to be as great because now he's so worried of factors and not thinking within the game that he is playing. He's just worried about the coach yelling at him. He's worried about having to run after practice. He's worried about all these things instead of learning from all his actions. Yeah.
There's not a player around that could play this game looking over their shoulder, stressed out whether they're going to get taken out of a game if they miss a ball or if they do this or do that. You know, I mean, you can demand effort, but production and you know, whether you hit a ball or catch it or throw it or whatever, those things are going to happen. You can't make those things happen if you're tight, tense, and upset and worried and scared. Can't do it.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that you guys are answering that question with everything that cannot be found or seen on a stat sheet.
That's right.
Yeah.
You got it, Steve. And the stat sheet can fool you sometime, because the stat sheet is not what wins you ball games all the time. You know, it's those other intangible things. You know, it's like if I looked at Matt, I go, Matt Ceriani is a great catcher. He's a great team guy, so to speak. But if I told people, I said, you know, Matt is not a team player. Matt does his work. He's out there busting his butt. He's behind that plate blocking balls. He's getting hit. He's running the base. He's throwing guys out. Now, what he does helps our team. But how he got there, he had to do it himself. So,
right. Yeah. You know, there's a real simple thing that I've always kind of lived by. Baseball, it doesn't create your attitude or who you are. Baseball exposes your attitude and who you are.
Exactly.
That's a big difference, because what that says is it's not the success or failure in the moment. It's the way you react to it.
Exactly.
And baseball's 162 games, or it's as many games as you got on the schedule. It's every day.
That's right.
You could bury yourself real easy, or you can have a really short memory. It's up to you. And it's a personal decision.
Exactly right.
And isn't that what analytics is, Leon? About it's the numbers game is for people who can't watch a game out on the field and see the players in their performance and make decisions on what they think they're seeing.
That's right.
Analytics is all about numbers, whereas we're talking about seeing these guys play, watching them, seeing it. You can see it. You don't need the numbers to see that the guy can hit the ball at a certain height that it leaves the bat at X amount of velocity. Well, what does that matter? All we know is, man, he hit the crap out of that ball, and that thing, and that left the yard. You don't need numbers to see all that stuff, but apparently those people don't see all that, and so they rely on the numbers, and that's what analytics.
Exactly.
Yeah, numbers try to predict what's going to happen instead of the intuition of a good coach or player personnel who says, you know what? I saw the way he reacted after he missed that ball. I'm pretty sure he's not going to make another mistake today. Or that same guy who doesn't know what he's looking at going, oh, well, there's another error. We might as well get him out of there. You know what? That is one of the big problems with it's, for example, say you're running a certain kind of business with somebody who's never run that business, but you can bring the intellectual side into it, but you don't know the details. Like the details is where you win and lose games. If you don't know what that guy's thinking, or if you don't know how to teach him how to think,
right,
then you're actually losing a big part of what you're trying to create. And it's all about creating good thoughts, and flushing out the bad results, because baseball is a 3 out of 10 is good. That means 7 out of 10 are bad, right. and what's bad if 7 of those outs are line shots, you may have hit 10 out of 10 and got three knocks. That's and then there's the other days where, and here's the other side of that coin is that, there's also times when you hit the ball 3 times out of 10 good and you get 6 hits or 7 hits. So, I would always stand on first base with a base hit. I didn't care. I'd tuck those batting gloves in my back pocket, get the sign, and go to playing. It's in the books. You can't take it away. So that's all part of being an advanced player.
That's right. But baseball historically will always expose Murphy's Law. If you walk the leadoff batter, he'll score no matter what.
Exactly.
If you're not mentally prepared for a specific play, then that specific play is going to happen. No matter what. Yeah. Game,
it might not be the moment you expect. It's going to happen.
It will.
Yeah, it will.
But I'll look at kids or team, no matter what level, from the time they step on the field and start playing catch. That's when I start looking. And if a kid is playing catch and he's just throwing the ball and he's not paying attention to where it's going and he throws the ball over or whatever, that kid has not prepared himself to play that day. You can see it right off the bat.
Yeah.
Am I right? And
yeah, especially in high school ball, when you've got kids going to 6 hours, 8 hours of school. I mean, it's expected that they're going to be distracted. When you get to the college level and the pro level, maybe a couple classes that day, but Saturday, Sunday, you're not playing, you're not going to school, and in pro ball, you don't go to school at all. So if you're in control of and here's the crazy thing about that is the guys that get to the pro level, it's because they've got through all those other levels with school and having to keep a GPA up and, having to be recruited and having to be flawless off the field, all these things. I mean, that's why, the pro guys are of that 1%.
But, if you look at, I go over to Japan, I'm going to go to Japan. Kids from little league level all the way to the pro level, they step onto the ball field, right? Before they step onto the ball field, they bow to it. And what it signifies, not only saying that field is sacred, is that they owe their 100% effort once they step onto that ball field. So in a way, if I'm going to step on a ball field for a kid, I try to tell them, I said, see that white chalk line before you cross that chalk line to actually go on the playing field? The Japanese do it when they come in the gate before they go in the dugout. They bow to the field. And when they leave, they turn around and bow to the field after they leave. They step away from the ball field, turn around and bow to it. It's real traditional.
Oh yeah.
But it's now before you step across that white line, you tell yourself, I'm prepared. Now, what does prepared mean? Not because you just said I'm prepared. I'm in a uniform, I'm getting ready to go out there. But what have you done mentally to have yourself, you've almost mentally played that whole game.
Yeah.
You have to prepare yourself to accept what happens. If you don't accept it, you're not going to be good on the positive side or the negative side. You have to accept what's about to happen.
Exactly.
And then, take the information that you get from each and every play and make the best of it the next play. I tell kids all the time when I teach them hitting, I go, look, yeah, that swing wasn't your best. Let's get to the next one. Let's take something and learn from it and try to make a better swing. We're grooving a good thought process. We're grooving consistency.
Exactly. You still aren't going to make every player hit every ball or it's never going to be perfect, but at least giving yourself a chance because you're making the right effort to get to that point,
Right.
So, well, you know what, Leon, when you're talking about the in Japan, how they're the way they treat the field when they step onto the field. Once you get in between the lines, it takes. There's so much variety to the game of baseball that there is so much to learn that for an individual to be able to step into those lines and then simplify the game and simplify it in this manner. In other words, once you step between the lines, now you start thinking not about what you're going to do. Sure, that's going to come into play once things start happening. But you have to learn that, okay, this first batter of the game, you're out and on defense. We have to keep the runner off of first. His job is to get on first. His job is to try and hit the ball. And so has to be the mentality. If he gets on first base, okay, what are we going to, now what's the next thought? And so you have to simplify the game, and every situation has to produce a thought process.
Yes.
So you're constantly thinking. And
exactly.
That
Once
is so
it gets on
important.
first, keep them off the second.
Man,
Yeah, that's right. Keep them off
boy,
second.
but you know what? How many times do young players step onto the field and they go out to the position and they go, okay, let's see if they hit it to me. They're not even thinking about anything. They're just waiting. They're waiting for the ball to be hit and not expecting it to be hit. And there's a difference.
Well,
right.
And I think that even goes, I love what you're saying, Leon, about the Japanese game, because there's something like over 120 million people in Japan, in a country that's the size of the state of California.
That's right.
What is there, 40 or 50 million people in California? There's almost 3 times as many people there. The reason they have so much respect is obviously the culture. But another reason is it's a privilege to get that opportunity to be on one of those fields, because land in that country is at a premium.
Oh, man. You better.
So to be able to, it's be like going into an office building in New York or LA, knowing what the real estate costs there.
Yeah.
And you disrespect the building. So we don't, America has got so much space. We've taken so much for granted as far as being able to go out and play Little League or be able to play on your high school team. In Japan, they have the largest high school baseball tournament on the planet. Yeah. And those kids all respect every single moment. And that's cultural. And I love that. But I also think that it's individual, because those kids have a choice, every single one of them. What happens is, if they disrespect that opportunity, they don't get it again. Whereas our kids take for granted that opportunity is going to come, that you're going to be a sophomore, you're going to be a junior. Well, look what happened the last year and a half. People lost eligibility. It's a mess right now, like with what's going on. But it just goes to show you, if you have the opportunity, give yourself the best chance to be your best. And that's it. That's all you can do. You can't create the hawk. You can't create the guy that's hitting it. All you can do is prepare for the worst and enjoy the opportunity. And if you do that with a good state of mind, you're going to have really good you're going to have really good results more than not.
But kids need to learn they need to be taught how to do that on their own. I think the biggest problem with coaching today is the coaches control so much of the game the kids, there's some kids that are satisfied with that. You know, I don't really have to think for myself. I just wait for the coach to tell me everything.
It's
You
like
know,
the cards on the wrist when the catchers open up and all the fielders open up. I'm going like, I was calling the game at 11 years old, 10 years old. Nobody ever called a game for me because
I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine myself at my age, somebody calling the game for me. I couldn't even imagine that. Would take all the fun out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm going to play a devil's advocate here for our listeners. And we're talking about, stats and numbers versus what some of the professional coaches like you guys are looking at. Last time we were on the podcast, we talked about, obviously Matt's new product, which, helps in some of the measurement. And we were talking about pop time and, that time that catcher can get the ball to second base and the time the pitcher gets the ball to the catcher and how fast the runner is getting from first to second. So these are all numbers that, obviously at the higher levels, we're taking measurements on. In reference to the discussion we were just having, how do you contrast, some of those numbers that you're getting with those stopwatches and with Matt's new product, as opposed to, what you're seeing? Can you see, Matt, that, hey, this guy's got a pretty good pop time, probably closer to 1.8, just without even measuring it?
Well, yeah, I mean, that shuts running games down. When I would go out and be like we talked about last time, you got rabbits on the other team or guys that like to run, or they're always on base a lot. It doesn't matter if they can run or not. If they're on a lot, there's going to be more opportunities with breaking ball counts to take bags. And, if teams bunt to get a player over one base, that should tell you how important, with 27 outs only in a game, they're willing to give up an out to get a base. So, that right there it puts credence to really, really being your best at every moment. Don't let anybody get you, off track. When the ball's in your glove or coming to you, like I'm as a catcher, it's coming to me at, every single pitch. If I'm not focused, the rest of the team suffers. So basically by putting the better players in a better position, what our products, basically going to do is allow the best players to be in the positions of, how do I put it? Where those dexterity issues come into play. Like, do you have quick hands? Are you good at releasing the ball? Can you get a grip every time? Well, if you can't get a grip every time, or you're not good at focusing for large amounts of time in short periods, which sounds weird, but it's a long time. Like if you're focusing for 30 seconds intently, 30 seconds for somebody that's not paying attention slips by like that. But for someone who's focused intently, there could have been 4 pitches in 30 seconds, Now that sort of thing is not really measurable. But what is measurable is once that ball's in play, what do you do once it hits your glove? What our device does is it actually separates people that think they're good from people that actually are good, from people that can get rid of the ball. It doesn't matter if you're 5'6", if you're a Jose Altuve, or if you're, a smaller size catcher like a Yadi Molina or a Pudge Rodriguez. These guys were so intense, like Leon has talked, intense, inside, prepared, because as an undersized guy, you have to be more prepared. But think about this. If you're a bigger, more Adonis type, you're more of a prototype guy, and you're also that intense, look at the advantage. So, what our device is going to do is separate the cream and rise it to the top, because you could be a 6'3" guy, you could be a 6'2" guy, and get rid of it as quick as a guy who's 5'7" or 5'8", and he's only good in the middle infield. Well, That's because of your intensity level. That's because of your thoughts about what your hands have to do, what your feet have to do, and the sync that you're in. I mean, look at Steph Curry. There's a guy who's 6'3", he can shoot it from half court and beyond like it's nothing. But the kid was doing that at 12, 13, 14, 15 years old. Helped that he had Del Curry or the pops. I'm sure that didn't hurt at all. But him and his brother are the 2 best shooters in the NBA. I mean, nobody talks about Seth Curry, right? Because Steph's so good. But look, he's hitting his. I was watching the All-Star game the other day. He's at 44%. He's above his brother. Like nobody even talks about him. And you know what? So what? He doesn't care. He's still getting an NBA paycheck every week.
That's
so,
right.
I mean, what's the difference? The difference is, the best players have the intangibles, and it's because they prepared. It's because they work at it. And in those guys, there's a good example right there. Those two guys in basketball, same father, okay, same childhood, different colleges, different circumstances, same end result.
Yeah.
Maybe a little different contract offer.
But when I was scouting, and that's a great point by Matt, with the talent, the caught stealing app, where you're getting truer times, and I would tell our staff sometimes, because I scouted internationally and I was all over it. And then I wasn't a big proponent for the speed gun, but it had its purpose. And I think, Matt, you'll agree with this, and Eddie, is that, first of all, I wanted to see if a kid can play. So if I'm looking at a pitcher, I know he's got great velocity, but I'm looking at his command. I'm looking at it. Can he locate a breaking ball? Is there a differential between his fastball and his off-speed stuff? Can he get bad swings? Can he move hitters' eyes? Can he move hitters' feet? But I do still have to have that number. But if he's a 95, 96, I have the number, but I don't go after the number first, because 95 doesn't tell me he can pitch. Right. It's the same way with a catcher. So if you have an app, or you say, I got a true time, but first of all, me and Eddie, as we're scout, we're going to find out, can this kid catch? Just like Matt said.
Right.
But I still got to turn in that 1.8.
Yeah, but here's the other thing too, is the 1.8 catchable? Is the 1.8 able to get a tag? Because from the time he catches, if it's up over his head, it might be a 2-2 by the time he tags him.
Exactly.
So, and here's how you evaluate catchers outside of the metrics. It's not how quick he releases it. It's not how hard he throws it. Number one thing with catching is how accurate is the throw. Because
right.
if the throw's right there, a 2 flat is going to throw almost everybody out. So it goes accuracy, quickness, and then velocity. So now, one thing that we've noticed by testing our app in the last couple of weeks is that functionally, when you get out there, we put the stalker behind me, and I was throwing, and I have a torn UCL, so I'm not throwing what I used to. But my release time was a 0.68, and that's why I threw under 1.8 in my career. But my pop time was a 2.37, and I'll tell you what happened. We put the stalker behind me to calculate it with the metrics on the device. And as I got rid of it on a 0.68 to a 0.7, 0.72 pretty consistently, which is major league release time. Okay. It always has been. That's why I played for 13 years. So the fact that nobody really knows who I am is fine with me. I don't have to sign too many autographs. It's great. But the best part, but what this actually taught us in the development of this is that when you get the stalker reading out of my hand, I was 62 to 64 with a torn UCL. Now, mind you, I used to throw 84, 85, 80, 81 when I was coming up. The velocity when the ball hit the glove was 50 miles an hour. So at 127 feet, I lost 14 miles an hour on the throw. This device shows that. So that's a total difference, because when you get rid of it quick and it's accurate, it does not matter how hard you threw it. What matters is, was it accurate? Was it quick? And then the rest of the time equation just has to do with what the ball got down there in. So, what I noticed was that when I was making my throws the other day, even with a messed up elbow, and that's because I played till I couldn't play anymore, I realized I didn't throw a single ball away in the entire workout. And I threw 40 balls in our last testing date. Wow. And you know what? It was a testament to me. I couldn't pick my arm up for 3 days, and I'm still hurting.
Well, yeah,
but what it did was it showed us that you cannot cheat the metrics. You can't cheat the time. My 0.68 plays. I think JT Realmuto is probably right around a 0.7 or a little bit above that, but he's fantastic. He's got a great arm. He's young. It doesn't really matter. If this device would have been around back when I was playing, there's no telling what would have happened. I still would have been accurate. I still would have been really quick. Whether I passed the eye test,
you're killing my scouting techniques here. See, here's the thing. I tell runners, I tell players, you got a pitcher who's 1-3 from his stretch to where the ball hits the glove. He's a 1-3, 1-4. That's average to slow. Now you got a catcher that's 2-1. Or say a pitcher is 1-3 and a catcher is 2-1. That's 3-4, right? Total.
Right.
By the time the pitcher releases the ball, catches it, throws down second. But my runners are 3-3. Throw out a 3-3 no matter where it is. But see,
Right.
here's the problem. You're taking the 2-1 down to a 1-8. So I can't run anymore. What's the story?
Right. You just shut the running game off because you're
Well,
quicker,
that's-
you're better at your trade, and you're throwing strikes down to second base.
That's right.
Well, maybe
And it has
that's-
nothing to do with velocity. And I've been at so many tryout camps where they just get you the radar gun behind the screen, and that doesn't really say anything. Because here's the thing, and I get it from the scouting perspective. A lot of times when you're scouting catchers, you want that big velocity arm because you could always convert him to a pitcher or an outfielder if he can hit. So there's 3 tiers to scouting. There's the hitting, there's the catching side, and then there's the arm strength side. There's 3 different things that you got to look at. So you do write that down. You do write a lot of things down because the organization is not just looking at it in one tier or one plane. They're looking at it from, okay, well, if we invest a bunch of money in this guy because he's got these 3 intangibles, if these 2 don't work out, we've still got this one, and how many guys have you seen that, like Kenley Jansen's a great example. Guy came up as a catcher, caught in the World Classic as a catcher. And he's been a closer for the Dodgers for however many years. And there's a prime example of what happens in reality when you actually get into the pro level. No, there is no cure-all or end-all. It's like you're either good at what you do in the metrics, or you're good at the intangibles, and the scout's job is to tie all that in to a certain player and see whether he's signable.
Exactly. Hey, Steve, I know we get to talking baseball, and I know that during this podcast we cover a lot of ground, but the time goes really fast. So where are we?
Yeah, we're at about time. Yeah, and I can say that obviously we had Ryan join us about midway through, and he's been listening. And hey, how you doing tonight, Ryan?
I'm doing good. It's good to hear all you guys.
Oh my God!
Hey, Ryan.
Nah, I've been here. I've been listening. But yeah, Matt, back to what you were saying about, everything about, a catcher and all that. And they're going to be looking at 1, 2, and 3, Kenley Jansen, perfect example of what you just said. They made him into a pitcher because of his velocity. So yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
And that short arm action at 94, it's dirty. And he's got, he's got some good stuff. I mean, look at a guy like Mariano Rivera, who just threw the cutter his whole career at 96. I mean, good luck hitting that thing when it disappears as the swing.
Kidding. And it's coming.
So, velocity has a place in the game, and arm strength has a place in the game. But, for what our device is creating is not only is it going to help catchers, and it's going to help put the best person in the best position for coaching and scouting, but you're going to get real-time data on the backfield with guys who like, hey, bring that guy over here, strap this thing on there. Let's see if we can work with it, instead of having to go to the video room. And then 3 days later, you get that video with the metrics. And then, you lost the moment. You really did. You lost the moment. There's no teaching involved. It's like, okay, well, let's see if we can duplicate what we did 3 days ago. That never happens. It's like to tell Eddie that he gets the same ground ball twice ever. Never happens. You don't get the same ground ball ever. So you got to keep practicing different angles. And when your mind and eye sees a certain ball off the bat with a certain swing making contact, you have an idea, your brain has an idea as to what that ball is going to do after the second or third spin. Is it a top spin grounder? Is it a backspin grounder? Are we playing on turf? Is the dirt watered down? Is it hard? Is it lumpy? Is it rocky? Are we in the Dominican? What's going on? There's so many things that the mind has to process at once. The only thing that what I could say is that we're bringing more value to the defensive aspect of release times, pop times, and it's really going to be not only beneficial for the player who's going to get a chance to show what he can truly do and where his value is, but also for the player development side, because that's really where the money's spent. The money is spent on player development. And if you can have a device that shows people exactly what a player does, and it's not based on somebody starting and stopping a watch. It's not subjective, it's objective. And that's such a big difference from what we've always had. It's going to make scouts' jobs easier. It's going to even the playing field. It's not going to make one player better than the other. It's going to make the better player show up.
Right. I agree. That's a great point. Did Rhino have our trivia tonight?
Yeah, it's It's a random one tonight, but yeah, I still got one. So basically, the trivia question is, who was the first baseball player, Major League Baseball player, to appear on the Wheaties box of cereal? Was it Babe Ruth, Joe DiMaggio, Ted Williams, Lou Gehrig, Mel Lott?
Is it Babe Ruth?
Nope.
I got my guess. Lou Gehrig.
Matt's a winner.
All right.
Matt got it again. Wait, that's
Yeah, it
not
was
fair.
1934.
I knew it was Lou Gehrig right away, but yeah, I knew that one.
That's
You
what I
knew
was going
that
to say.
All
You
right.
got to press
I was
that
gonna say
Jeopardy
that.
button, Eddie. You got to press it early.
We got to create a button.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to create a Jeopardy button. Otherwise, Matt's going to keep winning each week.
Yeah, I know. Good grief.
Oh, I just got lucky twice in a row. That's all.
Some country. He passed away a few years back. His name was John Young. He's the person that created the RBI program, the Reviving Baseball in Inner Cities. He created it down in Crenshaw, but we were teammates back in 1977 in Little Rock, Arkansas. And you're talking about, you ever heard the game Trivial Pursuit?
Oh, yeah.
Impossible to beat him. He knew this is the honest to God truth. He knew the mascot name for every Division I college in the country by heart.
That's crazy.
He just had one of those crazy, crazy memories. It was like Tommy Lasorda. I mean, Tommy Lasorda was like that. We were in Atlanta one time, and we come down to the hotel for breakfast at the Major League Winter Meetings, and he goes, "Leon, you got a minute?" I don't know why he thought of it. This was in the 90s, and we went in the coffee shop, and he goes, "I just want to tell you one thing, just by memory. I know, you're in Japan, and you played Japan, and your brother played," because he managed my brother with the Dodgers before my brother went over there. And he goes, in 1964, we went to Japan with the Dodgers. We played 7-game series. And I could tell you, I remember every single Japanese player, first name and last name. And I said, "Tommy, that's impossible. I played there 10 years. Japanese don't really use their first names a lot. It's always last name. How could you learn all their first names?" So he goes through the list. He reads all these names off. Now, some of them I knew were right, because Sadahara O, Shigeo Nagashima, the famous third baseman, Masaichi Kaneda, who was my manager when I was over there, he's a 400-game winner. So real famous. And after that, I didn't know if he was right or wrong. I knew the last names were right, which was amazing to me. I checked it out. I said, "Tommy, I'm not going to verify. I'm going to get back to you later." I didn't really check on it, but I went back and I found him in the lobby a few hours later. I said, "Tommy, that's impossible." He said, "Leon, I'm telling you the truth. I remembered everybody's name by heart over all these from 1964. He knew every name. I didn't really verify it until I went back to Japan again. And I started asking, it was killing me. And I had written them down at all the names he told me. And I got the first names he verified. He had them all nailed to the T.
Wow. That's awesome. That is awesome.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I have a bit of photographic memory. I didn't have to study much in college, that's for sure. Right.
Yeah, but that's how he would manage 3 or 4 or 5 innings ahead of time. He knew players, he knew situations, he memorized everything. He was just in the habit of knowing what was going to happen ahead of time. That's
awesome.
what we need to teach our players.
That's right. Once you learn it once, that should be all you need, and you should remember.
Exactly right. It becomes a habit.
Well, Leon, on that note, do you just want to go around one more time for final thoughts on what you guys talked about tonight?
I would just like to say, and let Eddie and Matt, you guys finish it up. But I would just like to say this is always a lot of fun talking baseball. We're getting older now. We have a lot of memories. We've done a lot of things in the game. This is all about the kids, all about them getting better. Whatever we can give back and contribute. I just like to say I appreciate all you guys being on the show with us tonight. Eddie?
Yeah, thanks, Leon. I just hope that with us getting older, that we're not trying to hold on to the way we knew baseball was, the way it was. But with that thought, I think young players, all they have to really focus on is learning the fundamentals of hitting, fielding, throwing, catching, and running the bases. You work on those fundamentals and you work hard at it, you're going to get better. And then then the more you play, a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about is going to be more in your mind if that's where you're headed. But yeah.
That's great. That's great. Matt?
Yeah, I'll just leave us with this. I just really appreciate the opportunity to archive a lot of these thoughts and have these conversations here for the rest of time, with the internet and with the Zoom calls and everything and the podcast. I just really feel fortunate to be on with you guys and be able to show everyone in the world and people that are willing to listen to us, our 2 cents. And we all have had, distinguished certain careers, and we've all ended up in a certain place, and we're all here with this amazing opportunity to talk to one another. And I truly appreciate the platform and the opportunity. So thank you again to everybody, Steve and Ryan, Eddie and Leon, thank you again. And I look forward to being on again soon.
You got to be on next week. Next week is biggie. We're going to have fun.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait for next week. That's going to be a good
all right.
Wait to talk some more base dealing.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Thank you guys.
Well, thanks again, guys. It was great again. And I'll remind everyone about the contact sites again for the podcast, Talking Baseball with Leonlee, podbean.com. You can also find us on Spotify and Google Podcasts just by searching for Talking Baseball with Leonlee. And you can also email us if you have questions or comments about shows or questions for any of the guys at talkingbaseballwithleonlee@gmail.com. And again, Matt Ceriani's site, caughtstealing.com. And you can also find him on Instagram, Caught Stealing Release Timer. And that's correct, right, Matt?
That's right. At Caught Stealing Release Timer on Instagram.
At Caught Stealing Release Timer on Instagram. All right. And we'll hope to talk to everyone again soon.